Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hopefully everyone who watch this video keep healthy because of the pandemic COVID-19 time. And I would like to introduce myself, and my name is Saiful, as the first presenter here, and then I'm with my colleagues as well. First one is Dr. Enisha Triana. It's also the same with me, a lecturer of Muhammad University of Makassar in Education Department, as well as third researcher Firman SPD MPD. It's also the same department from Muhammadiyah University of Makassar, but the last one is from STKP PUP Makassar, Dr. Minasri Bakri. The title of my paper is about the perspective of Konjo native students on multilingual learning. This paper is presented. It will be presented in 5 chapters, where each chapter consists of some sub-chapter. First one is introduction, second is method, the third one is findings, fourth one is discussion, and last one will be conclusion. Let me start in the first is introduction. In general problem, here we already formulated 3 things where we regard as a key point why this research should be conducted, that accommodate the novelty of the research, and then the importance of the research. First one is language extension. Language extension here is the key point why this research should be conducted, because as we know that in Indonesia has many or a lot of languages, as well as custom, traditions and culture, but our focus is just language extension. Why? Because right now our regional languages in Indonesia, which is reported by ISMADIS, the webpage of Ministry of Education and Culture, stated that actually in 2018, he stated there that in Indonesia right now has 19 language with a risk of extinction. So this cause of the lack of a user of that language, lack of sense of belonging of the young generation to use their languages, and then it's also influenced by another language such as national language or foreign language. Actually, the government is already conserve this kind of problem by applying in curriculum or in the syllabus in elementary school, where this language will endanger extinction. According to one of the findings of the research by Jumriyati 2018 in Southeast Sulawesi, explained that one of that language is a stay in South Sulawesi. It's in Kajan region, and then it's actually the province of South Sulawesi. So therefore government in Bulukumba give some regulation in education rules number 20 2018, but seems like the conservation of the language in protecting this regional language, the conservation is still weak. So therefore the researchers are endeavor to conduct this research by applying multilingual learning method. Actually, this multilingual learning is already applied by many researchers. For example, Bin Tahir 2015, 2017, and 2018, multilingual learning in pesantren, and then paradigm of simultaneous learning in pesantren. It's also conducted in Makassar, but in different population. We try to extend this research into making a content of multilingual. But for this presentation or this paper, we just limited this research only for the student's perspective. The next what I want to explain is multilingual learning at school. The definition of multilingual actually is a language that can be used by people or students specifically because it's multilingual at school, which is the language they use consists of more than two languages, namely a regional language, mother tongue, and foreign language. And then the importance of multilingual actually for the students has of course the specific terms or the specific roles, because the students use the languages based on their needs, as well as the people learning foreign language, and then it gives them some advantages in maintenance or improve their personality, and then could be many things can be improved by knowing many languages, such as the welfare of lives and so on. And then the perspective of multilingual is the sense of conviction or viewpoint that reflects something's approval or disapproval. This perspective is the actually propensity to react in a certain ways to certain objects, persons, or circumstances, cognitively, emotionally, or behaviorally. So what we would like to is to explain here actually what we have observed before in this kinds of perspective, what we call a sense of conviction or the object viewpoint. I mean here the students. And then the method of this research, actually we use a quantitative approach using design survey, and then in collecting the data we use the mean time in order to explain the existence of current condition, or to define perimeters in which situation can be observed, or to establish the correction will occur in the real action. The population of the students is 173 students at Junior High School 5, Satap 5 Kajang, and then in population research consisting of 59 single random sampling and 21 sample. I mean the chosen sample is just 10 to 1. We use a Likert scale here in scale model, yes, Likert scale model of questionnaire in gathering the data, and then the data are divided into two ways of analyzing, namely descriptive and then inferential statistic through SPSS version 23. And then the findings that can be reported here about the student's perspective, that the mean score of a student's perspective on multilingual learners and Junior High School 1, Junior High School 5 Satap Kajan is 27.12, and then the high score was 39, and the lowest score is 20. So the result of standard deviation is 6, and then can be interpreted as 54%, or it could be concluded that the perspective of the students on multilingual learning is approximately 20 to 39 average. And the perspective of the percentage of perspective frequency here, it can be inferred that the statistic reveal that 57% of the student view appear to be pessimist, yes, and then 30% neutral, 29% positive, and 14% positive. And the outcomes of interpretation reveals that the likelihood value is 0.05 is smaller than 0.000, yes, and which is used in this report. This means that the age 0 has been denied or rejected. We can conclude that there is an impact of the attitude of multilingual learning at this junior high school 5 Satap Kajang, in which the constant values was 1.122. It indicates that there is no improvement of the value in cognitive perspective, such as the contribution of the perspective to multilingual learning. And the regression value was 0.388. Then we can conclude it that any improvement in a cognitive perspective value would provide an improvement in perspective value. And what we can infer by the findings, especially the perspective of students on multilingual learning at junior high school 5 Satap Kanyang with a contribution value of 21%, indicates that they have not yet made a substantial contribution in enhancing the process of multilingual learning at school. It means that there are some ways should treated to them in order to improve their contribution value here. And then the lack of awareness, lack of confidence, lack of opportunity, stakeholders' participation is the institution that support the method. Also, the application of complex curriculum to school as the basis for the students' action. Actually, it's also make it the learning process at a school in multilingual perspective becomes complicated. And then the third one is students have capacity to understand what has happened in the classroom education sector, which is still ruled by the state. This rule is just the sidelines of the state of private school, government school, and push to intimidate the system of educational school. Means that hopefully the government can support by applying easy rules for the school or independent curriculum or syllabus for the schools. And then the last is the conclusion, centered on the description above. The researcher found that the perspective of students on multilingual learning had an impact on school, but was not substantially influenced by the lack of vocabulary, grammar, rarely practiced in their daily life or daily activities at school, less of self-confidence, and also obedience to government regulation. And the last one is suggestion for the school must be sensitive in navigating the multilingual learning program. The government position as a regulation creator must help the school education system in Indonesia and empower nations human being capable of multilingual learning. The acknowledgement is addressed to Muhammadiyah University of Makassar as the funding for this research. The researchers also addressed thanks to the stakeholder of Junior High School 5 Satap Kajang, South Sulawesi, Indonesia. Yes, that's all about my presentation. Questions and suggestions, constructive suggestions will be welcome. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.